Listen, with global uncertainty looming, your savings and retirement plans are under siege. But there's one asset that has stood the test of time: gold. Unlock the peace of mind that comes with owning gold, the ultimate safe haven. And if precious metals are new to you, Noble Gold Investments will hold your hand through the whole process. They have a team of experts who will guide you every step of the way to safety. Thousands of investors have sheltered their retirement savings with Noble Gold Investments. With gold at an all-time high and looking to climb further, it's the perfect time to get in. Open a Noble Gold Investments IRA and secure your future with a free gold bullion coin. Act now before it's too late. Call 877-646-5347 and claim your free coin before it's gone, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com now. noblegoldinvestments.com, the gold company I trust. Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, Jean Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Inspired live stream. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. The beautiful mantra of our live streams. It's good to see you all in a live chat. Ascending Spirit, Annette, Charlie Brown, Ernesta, Motion Info, Beaver Cleaver. Wonderful. Listen, friends, I encourage everybody to get comfy and stick around for the entire live stream. There is a whole picture here that we want to create or peel the onion properly. And I'll be honest with you, I was just thinking about a conversation or multiple conversations that Christine and I were having some 15 years ago about this time and how it was going to look like. And friends, as much as we tried, we couldn't have really imagined how this was all going to play out. And we're going to go in the proper order here. So I want to, because I know some of you have been paying attention to this, I want to show you what's been going on in and around Davos. What are we getting from there? And perhaps another important piece of news and why this is all correct, but at the same time, it's all completely wrong. We're going to get into this today. So let's watch this here together.
Really not that long ago, as I say, we owned the news. We were the gatekeepers, and we very much owned the fact. We owned the news. We were the gatekeepers, and we very much owned the fact. If it said it in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, then that was a fact. Nowadays, people can go to all sorts of different sources for the news, and they're much more questioning about what we're saying.
God, $2 trillion deficits with no end in sight. We've got our debt to GDP going up. We've got open borders with 8 million people coming over. I don't know that the country, frankly, is prepared for 4 more years of that.
When we have the next pandemic, we don't want to have to wait a year before we get the vaccine. And if AI can shrink the time it takes to get that vaccine to a month, then that is a massive step forward for humanity.
Yeah, this from the Wannabe Elite Forum in Davos. People have suggested that it's kind of a small place, small town, small village, Davos. Not many ways in or out. Perhaps they can close the roads. Keep them there. I think nobody would cry. Close the airport, close the roads, and some of our problems are immediately fixed. But this has weight, and this has weight in the world of news. It's important to look at what is happening there. It's important to look at how they're saying things, and it's also important to look at some of the big players that are at Davos, like the BlackRock guy, right? This was the CEO of BlackRock. And just in case you live under a rock and you don't know what BlackRock is, go look it up. BlackRock, Vanguard, of course, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, some of the biggest managers of funds in the world, trillions and trillions of dollars in their funds, in their banks, in their operations. They are steering nations, markets, and everything. So what I look at is, how are these people behaving? Are they saying strange things? Are they looking strange ways? And perceptually speaking, what I see among a lot of them is confusion. It's honestly confusion. It's the appearance of being very confident, the appearance of knowing where things are going. But I think there's huge confusion. I think there's also dispute among these people that are there. I don't think there's as much coherence as there used to be, and a lot of confusion as to where things are going. This is a positive thing for me, because the last thing we want is these people really steering things. However, they still hold a grip on others and national governments and whatnot. And we talked about this, right? So we're going to peel the onion more today. And also, some people, and it's kind of prefacing was coming a little later down in the live stream, is that some people are almost going insane with with two perspectives that they hold within them that are not compatible. And we're going to talk about what you can do to feel relief from that. Because once you understand a bigger perspective, you will see why you can't have those two perspectives, holding those two perspectives the way you might be. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But I first want to get to a high-ranking NATO guy, you might have heard this by now, who said this here. And again, he's not wrong. He's not right either.
To have water, you need to have a radio on batteries, and you need to have a flashlight on batteries to make sure that you can survive the first 36 hours. Things like that. That's simple things. But it starts there. The realization that not everything is plannable, not everything is going to be hunky-dory in the next 20 years. I'm not saying it is going wrong tomorrow, but we have to realize it's not a given that we are in peace. And that's why we have the plans. That's why we are preparing for a conflict with Russia and the terror groups, if it comes to it, if they attack us. We're not seeing.
Again, this is kind of similar as the World Economic Forum people. I wouldn't take this lightly. I wouldn't dismiss this at hand. All this kind of communication has a purpose, serves a purpose. Nobody's just going off script here. I'm looking at body language. I'm looking at his eyes. I'm looking at a nervousness. There is literally a nervousness behind his eyes that tells me, if I tune in, is that he knows how serious certain things are. He knows how little control people like him really have over these things. And he is worried that his people, his family, and his extended family and friends might not have thought about these things and be caught off guard. So what he's talking about is the real, very real potential for kinetic war in Europe right now. And beyond, of course, but especially continental Europe. And that has been a reality now for quite some time. And I do think this is a very valid and important perspective to look at, not because necessarily we know who will do what, but because in the background, way behind the scenes of NATO and NATO leadership, there are people who have a toolbox, like I've been saying. And in their toolbox, diplomacy, war, financial incentives, sickness, all these things are simple tools that they use. They're not necessarily have any moral consequences for using certain tools like you and I would have. These are completely different entities, if you will, and they don't have the same view of the value of human life. They don't have the same view that you and I might hold. And so they're going to pull out the tool that they think is going to get the job done for them, right? As long as they are sitting or have people sitting in positions that can push these buttons. Okay? So this is kind of important. This is where we look at the 3D perspective here, the 3D reality, where we analyze certain things, where we use our logic and our reasoning, and we come to certain conclusions. And that's limited. It's valid, but limited. Yesterday, I found this clip, or this morning actually, I found this clip by David Icke, which I think was put together really, really well. So I wanted you all to see it because it's going to open a discussion that I really wanted to open in this live stream, because it can help us find sanity and peace and harmony in these troubled times much better. So let's watch this together.
They are so disconnected from what's known as source consciousness, which means they do stupid, psychopathic, evil things. They're so lost in their own bewildered, disconnected world, because everything that this force does is an inversion of life. And that's why we live in a world that's full of inversions. People look at the world and they go, it's freaking mad. Well, everyone else thinks it's not mad, so it must be me. Well, I can tell you, it ain't you. The world is mad, it's insane. But what's happening, although most of the population, the great majority of the population, doesn't want it, they think it's crazy, the authorities are all supporting it, and the corporations are supporting it. And people are losing their jobs for challenging it. Why? Because this global cult that operates through the corporations, through the governments, through the government agencies, is supporting this agenda, whereas the rest of the great majority of the population, they don't want it. But they get it anyway. It's very, very important that people move beyond and expand into asking much bigger questions of the nature of reality, the nature of the I, the very nature of who we are. That's all being put aside.
Exactly. This is opening the conversation. It's a beautifully done clip. By the way, this is from Iconic, David Icke and his son's platform. Wonderful, wonderful platform. Great documentaries, great movies. Of course, David Icke's Doc Connector show, Gareth Icke show, Jamie Icke's show. Just fantastic content. If you go to iconic.com, I think you can do a free 7-day free trial, and absolutely support this platform, and you'll see wonderful content there. But really, the questions that David was pointing to, the bigger questions, are exactly at the core of why I wanted to do this show here today. There is, amongst you, many of you are experiencing a sort of dissonance within them that can be almost painful or driving you insane at times. And I'm no stranger to that. But here's a perspective that might help you. So what you're observing on the one hand, and what we're always kind of peeking at and looking at too, is what is happening in this 3D world, what is happening with the World Economic Forum, with the World Health Organization, with the UN, with the Bilderberg meetings and the national governments and politics and pandemics, whatever. There's a lot to look at. And there seems to be a lot of despair and things going wrong in that. Here's the thing. When we look at these things solely with our senses and with our mind, then we're just using this body computer to analyze data and come to logical conclusions. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But so many of you have had or are experiencing spiritual awakenings, which means that you are connecting to something much bigger, sometimes consciously and sometimes unconsciously, right? But the problem is that you and so many other people, by default almost, are trying to hold two perspectives within this body vessel, and the body can't hold it. The body can't hold this because for logic, for reasoning, and for limited envisioning and imagination, the body is designed to do that. And even at its optimal state, the body can only do so much. It has limitations. It's a great avatar, it's a great vessel, but it has certain limitations. But when you, whether by accident or by choice, start connecting with spirit, which is infinite, and you try to hold these feelings within the body, you will inevitably become frustrated because the body can't hold these feelings. The body also can't hold these out of body visions and experiences. And so when you try to hold these two perspectives within your body, literally, it will drive you insane, because it's all happening at the same time. At the same time that mad people are doing mad things to people, an awakening and a exponential growth is happening, but it's happening in a realm that isn't as accessible to the senses as this here. To put it lightly, the World Economic Forum is very accessible to our senses. We can watch it, we can listen to it, we can comprehend it with our brains. Okay, that's very simple to do that. But the spiritual awakening, unless you are tuning in, specifically tuning in, which means to go beyond the body with your awareness, you can't see it. It's not like it's all around you and you can just pinpoint it. And what is this going out of the body or beyond the body? Let me give you a simple example of how many people actually know how to do that. Let's say you are watching TV, or even you're on YouTube and a commercial pops up, and that commercial is about starving children in a third world country, and you're watching the footage and you're seeing it, you're hearing it, you're perceiving the information, and in your mind you're thinking, oh, that is really a bad situation. It shouldn't be this way. I'm going to send $100 to this organization that's hopefully going to do something about it. Now, you had a logical thought, you were observing something, and your trained response was, this isn't good, this shouldn't happen, I'm going to do something about it. But that was all reasoning, logic, and action. However, if you had used your ability to spread your awareness to the actual experience of those children, you would have felt what they feel. You would have felt the hunger. You would have felt their pain. You would have felt maybe their dreams, their hopes. You would have felt it. You would have been empathetic, sympathetic. You would have been in the experience. You would have spread your awareness to that. And that's when tears start rolling. That's when you can actually feel the experience of another being. You have that ability, but it's by choice to spread your awareness beyond that. And that is just one example. I wanted to use that example because I think it's something a lot of people can relate to. You can walk past a homeless person, give them $5 and be on your way. Or you can actually tune in to their experience. That's what your consciousness can do. And there is no distance that can prevent you from doing that, because there is no distance between consciousness. The distance is created when we cut our consciousness off, and there is a legitimate reason why we should be very selective. But when we go into the beyond the body awareness, we are actually tapping into a field potentially that is holding solutions that we can bring back into this 3D reality and apply those solutions. But when you try to hold these deep feelings inside of you, when you try to hold the God experience within this vessel and not let it spread out, you will experience such dissonance and such frustration that you will just say, go to hell with all of this. I can't do it. And we have to learn to become bigger than this body, because we are. Our true spirit, our true being is part of the infinite. It's not in and of itself all infinite, but it's part of the infinite. And so the more that we connect with the spirit, the bigger we become. And so we find peace in the knowing that there is so much more beyond this body and so much more beyond this 3D reality. And so gradually you expand what people call the aura. You expand that. You literally, your presence becomes bigger, and people can feel it. But that's not for you to brag. That's just, you will know, and you know it too, that with certain people, their physical appearance is preceded by their spiritual appearance, so you can feel them before they come into your field. You can feel their presence before they step into the room. You feel something is shifting. And what we are now in is that rather than hundreds of thousands of people like it used to be not too long ago, maybe a couple million in the world were able to hold this. Now, tens, hundreds of millions of people are having these out-of-body experiences and are seeking them through meditation, or seeking them through prayer, and are trying to find a way to live in that state permanently. And it is difficult. It is very challenging, because when you step into everyday life out there, when you step into the grocery store, when you step into a conversation with somebody, and it is so anchored in this 3D reality, now you have a choice to make, right? Now you have to find a balanced way to get through this without being completely zoned out. And this takes practice. This is why we encourage everybody to take up spiritual practices. Why prayer, real prayer means you're actually going beyond the body. And when you practice this a lot, then the times when you fall out of balance, when you fall into anger, sadness, frustration, will be shorter, and they won't happen as often. And if, on the other hand, if you don't do that and you try to hold it all within this body, it will drive you insane. It will literally drive you insane. And I think the point is that our true spirit was never meant to remain in these bodies. This was never meant to be a permanent way to live. There is for sure a valid reason, but we're all seeking to expand beyond this. And so that's why I say, when a guy like this NATO guy comes on and says, prepare for war, he's not wrong. He's not wrong, but he's also not right. There's just two perspectives. There's two realities that are playing out. When you go beyond your body, when you expand your consciousness, you do not think of war. You do not think of killing. You do not think of violence. You do not think, these things are not part of the equation when you're in that space. But when you are in 3D reality and you are truthfully confronted with the psychopaths that reside here and that are in certain powers, in certain positions of power, then you do think of that. And currently, we have to be able to harmonize these perspectives. If we only come from a 3D standpoint, and if we only use logic and reasoning in our minds to try to fix things, we will remain in this loop of destruction, war, peace, rebuilding, oversaturation, destruction, war, peace, rebuilding. It's the same cycle over and over again. So the foundation for transformation is always spiritual. And the more people that can bring this spiritual perspective into this 3D reality more often, the better our chances are that we can actually soften a lot of these blows, and that we can create that shift in a gentler way. Okay? This is challenging when we're being bombarded with bullshit, when we're being bombarded with distractions, with horror scenarios, with fear. But it is your personal responsibility, or within your personal responsibility, to choose your spiritual development over anything else. Thank you so much, Bella B, for your contribution. Appreciate it. To choose your spiritual development over anything else, but not hold it in a separate space. So many people are doing, they're holding it in a separate space, and then they're wanting to deny the 3D physical reality. But it does not work that way. It's walking and chewing gum at the same time. Now, you can sweep the floor and it can be a solely physical experience, and you remove the dirt and the dust. That's all good. Or you can sweep the floor and you're holding a divine tool in your hand, and you're doing a divine thing, and you're fulfilling a divine task. You can have spirit be part of your every experience, your every conversation. It's your choice. It's your choice. Oh, they're feeling it. The dogs are feeling it. But you have to resist with everything you have, the pull back into solely 3D perspective. It's gonna want to pull you back because this 3D matrix is fighting for its survival. It's fighting for its very survival. So it will do anything and everything it can to pull you back. And because it will project these images and project these fears and project these horror scenarios, we have to find a way to look at these things from a broader perspective. And I can only point you in the direction. I can't give you that perspective. I can't say, here, this is what it looks like. You have to go beyond. And whatever pathway you choose, for some people, it's specific meditation techniques. For others, it's immersiveness in prayer, where you literally immerse yourself. For others, again, they're sitting somewhere at a stream, at a river, at a body of water, and are simply going into the flow of the elements. There is no wrong here. But when you find that sweet spot, you will know by how big it feels and how effortless you're able to experience, how effortless it is to experience it. When it is effort to experience it, you're still within the body. And so we have often said the answers are within, but it's not necessarily within the body. It's within the infinite spirit of all that is. And I think this is what David Icke has in this beautiful clip has really said so wonderfully. We have to ask bigger questions. And when we stop our seeking for truth in the world of the seen, we will remain in this recycling thing forever. Because the world of the seen is minuscule compared to the world of the unseen. It is a tiny fraction. Even our vast reality around us, nature, oceans, mountains, it's minuscule compared to the vast world of the unseen. And only you can make that choice. No one can do it for you. So I'm not a black or white kind of guy. David Icke, for example, says politics is not the answer. But the answers must include politics because it's part of our current reality. That's how I see it. We must be able to bring this spirit that I'm talking about to all aspects of life. And until we do, things won't fundamentally change. Until we do, we will just keep going through similar cycles. I think we're in it. We're actually doing it. I wanted you to know that if you have days where you feel like you just can't anymore, it's too much, that's when you have to open this vessel, open your heart, open your awareness, and allow it to flow out, and you will see. What I like to do is I like to release the negative thoughts, feelings into the earth. It's like a flow. And at the same time, I'm allowing beautiful, positive thoughts and feelings to come in. And then eventually this vessel overflows and I allow it to overflow. You have to give yourself permission to really know that you are not your body. You're not your thoughts. You're not your mind. They are part of your experience, but they are a small part compared to who and what you really are. Now, you've heard this before, and you might hear it 10 more times or 15 more times or 20 more times before you give yourself permission to actually experience it. And once you experience it, you'll never forget it again. And you will never say, this is me again. It's not you. This isn't you. How could this be you? How can you think of someone that's 1,000 miles away and you feel them and you can literally feel their thoughts, their feelings, their presence, and you're overflowing? How could that happen solely with this body? It can't. You're so much bigger than that. And until somebody like that, until you bring that to something in this 3D reality, imagine a conversation like that being had on a stage of the World Economic Forum. It would be the last conversation ever had there because these people would see that it's game over. we need to be seen and heard within this 3D reality as well. I'm sick and tired of the same conversations in politics, the same conversations in the economy. Why is nobody talking about love? Why is nobody standing up there and actually speaking about love? Why is nobody speaking about these beautiful things that we're learning about ourselves? Why is nobody talking about spirit? It's time for this to happen. It's really time for this to happen. When, if not now? And who, if not you? Who, if not you? All right, my friends. This is it for now. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining us for these conversations. The better it gets, the better it gets. I love that statement. But on the flip side, the downward spiral is just as true. The worse it gets, the worse it gets. It's all choices. It's all a choice. You can choose something different this very instant. You don't have to wait. You don't have to plan. It doesn't have to start Monday. It can be right now. This is perhaps the greatest realization, that you can choose something different in this very moment. No, your circumstances do not matter. You live in a car. That's all you have left. Been there, done that. You can choose something new. You can choose to go beyond this 3D reality moment, to use the spirit within you to expand beyond the body and have a new experience and pull it into the 3D reality. You have that ability. But you have to make a choice, and you can't make two contradictory choices at the same time. It's either this or that. It's either getting better or it's getting worse. Which one will it be? Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll be back with you again very, very soon.